I feel like I just have to get this out of the way at the beginning. I don't think I'm that good looking, all right? I don't think I'm ugly. I think I'm objectively maybe a little bit above average, but nothing more, all right? Cool, we all agree, so that means you can't go into the comments now and be like, oh, you want to talk, you look like... No, I already said it. I beat you to it, fair and square. Now, if you say anything like that, you're gonna sound like an idiot, okay? Let's continue. When I was but a wee lad, I had, shall we say, an awkward phase. Oh, good God. Oh, no. No. We practice self-love here. He still deserved love and attention. He also deserved a skincare routine of any kind. Now, having gone through the whole weight loss journey and the skincare routine and the whole, hey, I don't think daily showers is optional thing, I think it's fair to say I objectively look better. If you disagree, shut up. Now, look, this is gonna sound bad, but I feel like anybody who's lost a significant amount of weight can relate to what I'm about to say. Do you know how many times I stare at myself in the mirror in a given day? It's a lot of times. Look, I'm really trying not to sound vain or narcissistic because I realize, look, I don't look like a supermodel and I'm fine with that. But when you've looked a certain way your entire life, a way that you weren't satisfied with, you study your face, you understand every flaw that's there. When that's gone, it's a very interesting experience. Yeah, because obviously the change didn't happen overnight, but there are certain moments where you realize, wait, when did this happen? Like, yeah, I understand that this was a 2-year process, but when did I get a jawline? That's interesting. Let's observe that in great detail. Like, to fully understand everything that was wrong with you and then realize suddenly, hey, a lot of those things are gone now. It's kind of nice. I feel like I'm teaching the wrong lesson here. Remember, kids, you can only feel good about yourself when, say it with me, when you're pretty. Yes, very good. Look, maybe it's vain, but there's no denying it. People like to look good. The beauty industry is worth billions for a reason. Old people like to cling to their youth. Young people like to pretend they don't have flaws. We want to look better in photos, feel better in clothes. We want compliments from strangers, okay? We suck and we know what we are. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, well, that's other people, but not me. I'm better. I don't look at people's appearances and judge them outwardly. I would never show positive bias to someone just because they're attractive. I'm not a monster. And you know what? You're right. You're not a monster. You're simply a liar. Look, just be honest with me. I promise I won't get mad. If you had to stare at either of these faces for 15 to 20 minutes for, say, I don't know, a video essay, which would you prefer? Again, I'm not mad. I probably agree with you. I'm just trying to make a point that no matter how unbiased or unprejudiced you think you are, people like pretty. And frankly, one of these is, and then there's another one. That's fine, though. I feel like that's always existed. It's fine to have preferences. We all have different tastes. That's cool. But I think there's definitely some unhealthy desires and practices that are cultivated and encouraged through social media. And I feel that they deserve to be addressed. So how exactly has social media made the desire to be attractive worse? Here is my completely uneducated opinion with almost zero sources.
Get back on your feet! There's so many of them!
I don't think it would be an exaggeration to say there are too many pretty people online. Because only occasionally will you in your real life meet somebody who is drop dead beautiful. Because most people look normal. I would say the average person sees about 97% people in the real world as normal, with a 3% of people they see being hot. Do you follow the math? However, online, things change dramatically, with a more 80-20 split between normal and hot. Now, as you can see, we're still an overwhelming majority in both ratios. However, our hotness per capita has increased nearly 7-fold. The numbers speak for themselves. The market for drop-dead gorgeous people is being saturated, and this is making us normals feel bad. Really, even the normal looking people online are a lot more beautiful looking than I would like them to be. I don't know if this is a realization that only I have had, but I think that celebrities used to look normal and then now they don't. From what I've been told, in the 50s and 60s, John F. Kennedy and his wife were considered very attractive, and that's part of the reason he won his campaign to be president. Really? Are we sure that's what happened? Seriously? Okay. Look, I'm not saying the man is a total uggo. I'm just saying, like, that's your peak? Like, top cream of the crop? Like, this is what everyone strives to be? Really? I don't know. Like, by today's standards, I think you would just consider someone like him okay. And that's what I'm talking about. Celebrities just looked more average, at least to my 2024 eyes. But now, I don't see that anymore. Like, I think the Met Gala was designed to be a constant reminder to the lesser classes that famous people look better than you. You know, it's also a reminder that they're richer than you. It's a bit of a 2-for-1 they have down there. So, it's not fun, but they do it. So I have a system of my own for rating prettiness. Let me know if this makes sense. So there's this thing in math, right? Hold on, don't get bored and click off. Let me explain. This is a graph. Now, as you can clearly see, there are a lot of high points and a lot of low points throughout this entire graph. Now, in math, we have two ways of identifying these points. Either we would only look at a certain subsection and define the high points as maximums and the low points as minimums. These would be local minimums and local maximums. You follow me? Overall, there are certain points that are just the highest ever and the lowest ever. We would call these the global minimums and the global maximums. I promise there is a point to this. So in summary, we can say that comparatively, these points are relatively low and relatively high, yet in reality, these points are the actual lowest and the actual highest. What does this have to do with pretty people? Everything. I think in life it's fair to say that there exists such a thing as local pretty and global pretty. Like, for example, that person you had a crush on in high school math class, they were probably fine. Like, that's a prime example of local pretty. You see them every day, they're maybe above average in that classroom. Compared to somebody online whose job it is to look flawless every day of their living existence, yeah, no shot. Online person, global pretty. Person in your math class, local pretty. Maybe if that, they actually probably weren't that attractive, to be honest, but I mean, hey, as long as you're happy, bro. Effect is a cognitive bias that essentially boils down to if a person has one good quality, you'll assume that they have more. Case in point, that girl that held the door open for you the other day and smiled as you walked past her, you'll assume that, wow, she's probably really sweet, and she probably loves animals, and she probably is great with money, and has an awesome relationship with her father. But you don't know that any of that is true. Who's to say she doesn't hate animals, has credit card debt, and her father sucks? That is the halo effect. And as unfortunate as it is, it works really well in attractive people's favor. People have a really bad habit of tying looks to morality, because in our stories, our heroes are beautiful. Their skin is as perfect as their moral character, and everything good about them is manifested physically in their chiseled six-pack abs. In reality, a lot of hot people suck, and a lot of ugly people are awesome. A person by no means needs to be physically attractive if they have good qualities. For example, think of people that you have in your life that are good, yet not necessarily good looking. Like, I don't know, your dad or something. Unless you have a bad relationship with your father, don't think of him. Look, I do a fair amount of research for these videos, and how do I put this? In the discussion of the correlation between beauty and morality, Paul Rudd comes up more than once. Because sometimes people on the internet will do a thing where they'll look at a celebrity who has generally good vibes and also has aged gracefully, and they will correlate the two. Paul Rudd has remained lovable and not ugly for decades. Coincidence? I think not! No hate on Paul Rudd. I love Ant-Man. I think it's interesting that he just comes up in this discussion a lot. Another thing that came up a lot in my research for this video is just anecdote after anecdote of people who have experienced glow-ups or weight loss journeys and just experiencing the difference in treatment they receive. Being treated better, being less invisible, being included more. I can relate to some of that to an extent. Like I said, people are vain, and we like good looks in ourselves and in others. And it sucks to think that something that you fundamentally, for the most part, cannot change is the key to having a happier life. But alas, it's a simple fact of life. Being attractive is going to help you in nearly every facet and context of your life. Or is it? Vsauce. Me here. Sure, there are some settings we're used to and kind of expect there to be only attractive people, but there are some contexts in which the uggos have free reign. I remember I was reading this Forbes article about essentially a group of people asked if they wanted to see a bunch of TED Talks. They found that people preferred to listen to seminars about business and social sciences from attractive people, but when it came to natural sciences, they were more interested in seeing shall we say less attractive people? And I think that makes sense. Smart people aren't supposed to be pretty. Okay, not saying that they're not supposed to, but they just typically in media and just in pop culture in general, the smart kid and the pretty kid are two different children. Like, take Einstein, for example. The bags under his eyes, the lack of chin definition, the wrinkles upon wrinkles, and let's not even get started about the split ends. This man was born to be a genius. Now, of course, I'm being facetious, but you get the idea. Sometimes being attractive has a direct positive bias, but other times, I don't know, people want to see average. Take that as you will. I was reading an opinion piece on, I didn't name it, ugly privilege. Now, I don't know that I fully agree with the concept, but I'm still gonna talk about it. It was this idea that people who are considered traditionally unconventionally attractive have an advantage because people are not intimidated by them as much. They're approachable and therefore it's easier to make social bonds with them. Now, fair, but also, maybe not. I mean, kinda, you know. I definitely don't think this applies in every context, but I will confess it definitely comes up a lot. This is why, at least for me personally, I think that most good comedians aren't attractive. This is gonna sound really bad, but I think it's easy to laugh at someone that we don't consider like drop dead gorgeous. Like, think of the pretty person in your friend group and think of the funny one. These are typically two different people. And as far as advantages in the working world and in that aspect of life, you're probably fine. Yeah, because good looks, yeah, that's cool and everything, and that does help, but it's mostly a first impressions type of thing. Kind of the same way of how being funny and charismatic is good for interviews, but if you can't do the job, you're not gonna do well. So yeah, good looks and everything, that's a good way to get in the door. Actual productivity and results, great way to stay in the room. So, yeah, if you feel outclassed in the looks department, just get funny. That'll pretty much solve 80% of the dilemma. Like, you'll be surprised. Be funny. Just get funny. Also, you have to understand, a big factor is that it's really not about how bad you look. It's about how insecure you are about how bad you look. So when you take the time to invest in yourself and make reasonable changes to improve your looks, you gain confidence. Even if you aren't considered conventionally attractive, you've gotten rid of this insecurity, which gets rid of, like, I don't know, 70% of the problem? And I've definitely noticed this in myself. I carry myself a lot differently than I did 2 years ago. I have a lot more confidence in the way I talk, the way I walk, the way I interact with people that I meet for the first time. I no longer assume that people will consider me a side character. I don't even really think about what other people think as much. I still do that. Oh my gosh, I'm not fixed. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, well, couldn't you have just done all that before the whole weight loss thing? Yeah, you're right. That's kind of the whole point. You don't have to looks don't matter as much. Just get over this thing. If you feel insecure, you will act unconfident. If you act unconfident, people will not give you the respect that you maybe deserve. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying it's what it is. Fix that, and that's like half the fight right there. Lately, I've been trying to be kinder to my younger self because I did have this notion that because I looked the way I did in that stage of life that, I don't know, was less deserving of love and attention. I definitely felt that way at the time. And it's taking time to unlearn that. He was a cool dude, and he deserved attention and love and respect. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hey, weren't you making fun of your younger self about 4 minutes ago? Yeah, I was. I'm clearly still working on it, all right? Now, to address the other extreme of the spectrum, the whole not caring how you look at all times and like being dangerously overweight and like not taking into consideration basic hygiene and whatnot. Now, keep in mind that what is about to be said is coming from a person who has in the past been medically diagnosed as obese and lost over 50 pounds and has in his life used 7-in-1 body wash. Self-respect is a beautiful thing. Now, I don't know your life and I'm not gonna force anything on you, but I'm just saying if you look... nope, that sounds bad. I gotta rephrase. If you are allowing yourself, and I'm saying this from experience, to look worse than you could out of sheer laziness and the belief that there's no point in trying, then you are living a worse quality of life than you could be. Obviously, you have to be reasonable about it. Again, I don't know your life. You can't go crazy or starve yourself to achieve these things, but I'm just saying, if you know there are things that you could be doing that you want to do, but you just aren't. And to be honest, it's not even that much about looks itself. It's about knowing that you could be treating yourself better, and yet you're not. You're acting like you don't have power in your life to change things you don't like about your life. Yeah, it's like you feel powerless, but you're not. You can do a lot of great things, and this can be one of them if you want, like just don't overthink it. Food for thought. I don't know. With that being said, let's try something. Do not be alarmed. This is on purpose. Now, there's probably only a certain percentage of you whose like phone or laptop or whatever is in the perfect lighting and position for the black screen to show your reflection. But if it is, just look at yourself. No matter what you see, you're okay. Now, if you would like to take reasonable steps to improve your appearance, go on ahead. But understand that as a person, what you see right now is one of the least important things about you. There are a lot more important things, like, do you like yourself? How's your relationship with your father? Did you eat today? A fourth question. All right, lights back on. That's enough of that. Did you like that fourth wall break thing that I did there? I'm very creative in case you haven't realized that yet. So if you haven't already, go buy some sort of facial cleanser and a cookie. You do good work. Good job. You're okay. Fun fact, there's a point in this video where I fell asleep and then woke up and recorded the rest of it the next morning. Can you tell where that split is? Food for thought. I don't know.